Hi friends, so today we are going to start learning about the region of North Carolina that we live in, and it is called the Piedmont. Can you say that word with me? Piedmont. So the Piedmont is the middle part of our state, and that is where we live. That's where Durham is. That's where my parents live. If you have family that live in other parts of North Carolina, they might live in the Piedmont. So the Piedmont is the middle part. So it's not in the mountains and it's not by the beach. It's right in the middle. So today we're going to talk about some of the plants that we can find in the Piedmont. And a lot of these plants can even be found at Hillendale, which is super cool. So the plants that we're going to talk about today are the magnolia tree, honeysuckle, and the longleaf pine tree. And tomorrow we're going to talk about some animals that I'm sure some of you have seen around Durham or even around Hillendale. But today we're going to start by talking about the magnolia tree. So if you went with me on my nature walk a few weeks ago around my house and around my neighborhood, you may have seen a magnolia tree because I have a magnolia tree in my backyard. And these trees can grow to be 80 feet tall. So you can see in this first picture right here, this man, he is 6 feet tall standing next to it. And look at how tall that magnolia tree is. So if you ever see a magnolia tree and you ever see their leaves, the leaves that they have are kind of waxy feeling. So it almost feels like the top of a candle on top of the leaves. They have this wax on their leaves to help protect them and also to help keep water inside the leaves. So remember, it's something that plants need to be able to survive is they need water, and the roots help to bring water up from the ground into the tree. And then the leaves help the plant or help the tree make food. But to keep that water inside the leaves, they have this wax to help protect it. Magnolia flower. So this tree actually during the summertime will flower these really pretty white or pink flowers that you can see down at the bottom. And you can see the seeds that are in the center of the flower. And these seeds are food for the birds or for insects. So I have a lot of birds that like to hang out in my backyard. And when our magnolia tree starts to flower, the birds always spend time at the magnolia tree because they're eating those seeds inside the flowers. But they also attract bees. So the bees will help pollinate the tree. And we're going to learn a little bit more about bees and what pollination is and what that means in a few weeks. But these trees can live to be 100 years old, which is super cool. And maybe one day soon, I will take you on a trip to see my magnolia tree in my backyard. The next plant that is in the Piedmont is called a honeysuckle. So a honeysuckle, those are vines, and they can be almost 25 feet tall or 25 feet long. And they are named honeysuckles because the nectar that's inside of these flowers are sweet and taste like honey. And they are edible, which means that you can eat them. So you can smell honeysuckle when you walk by them. The smell is really sweet and fruity, and it attracts a lot of birds like hummingbirds who like to stick their long beak into the honeysuckle to drink the nectar, and butterflies will also come by and drink the nectar. The flowers start blooming in the late spring. They're starting to bloom now, and they'll also bloom in the summer and in the fall. So you can eat the nectar from the flowers and the petals. You can even eat the stem that connects it to the leaf, and you can cook it like a vegetable. I've never done that. I've only just drank the nectar out of the inside of the honeysuckle. But honeysuckle can also be used in medicine. So there are lots of lotions and body washes that your mom or your sister might have at your house, and they might smell like honeysuckle because that's a really popular scent to use in lotions and body washes. But honeysuckle flowers are also used in a lot of cat toys, like the toys that Beatbox and Bendy might play with, because cats love the smell of this plant. we actually have honeysuckle vines at Hillendale. So remember where we usually go when we have fire drills, how we go down that hill? So if you were to go past the baseball field and around where the soccer field is, where we hung out at the hike for Hillendale, right there along the edge of the woods right there are honeysuckle plants that you can actually find. And if we were in school right now, I would take you on a trip to go see them. But since we're not, I'm going to take you on a trip to the honeysuckle plant that is in my neighborhood in the next video I'm going to post. The very last plant we're going to talk about today is the longleaf pine tree. So, why do you think it's named the longleaf pine tree? You got it, because they have long leaves. So they have pine needles that grow out of the middle of the tree that can be over a foot long. So these pine needles are really, really long, and they also grow in groups. So they grow in a bundle of 3. So that means if you were to try to pluck a pine needle out, you would actually pluck all 3 that are in that group. And the seedlings look like grass for a few years. So they don't start out looking like a tree. They start out looking kind of like grass because it's trying to grow a really, really long root. Why do trees need long roots? I want you to think about what roots do for a tree. There are a couple things that roots do for a tree. I also want you to think about how tall these trees are. So if you look at the picture at the bottom, how tall are those trees? What is another reason why you think a long root would really help it? So the wood of this tree is used for lumber. So it's used for like pieces of wood that you could go to Lowe's or Home Depot to buy. It's also used to make paper and furniture. So the wood from these trees, it's a natural resource that we use to make the things that we need. Lots of animals will eat the pine needles, and they'll make nests in these trees. So some of the animals that like to hang out around longleaf pine trees are rabbits, woodpeckers, squirrels, and deer. So we have longleaf pine trees at Hillendale in the same place where you can find honeysuckle vines. And if you went with me on my nature walk, I have a longleaf pine seedling in my backyard. So it's only about knee high right now. So it's just now starting to look like a tree, but it's going to continue to grow as it builds that long root. So those are the 3 plants that you can find in the Piedmont. Make sure you check out my next video that I'm going to post, because I'm going to show you what the honeysuckle vine in my neighborhood looks like. Have a great day, friends. See you super duper soon.